The thick manila envelope landed on my desk with a thud that made my coffee spill over the blueprints. "Ethan Hayes, you've been served," the guy in the cheap suit said, his voice flat as he thrust the papers at me, right in front of my entire team at the architecture firm in downtown Chicago. My hands shook as I read the bold letters. Sarah Thompson versus Ethan Hayes. Complaint for fraud and intentional infliction of emotional distress. She was claiming I had deceived her for years by hiding the fact that I was gay. The office went dead silent. Then the whispers started like a wave I couldn't stop. I stood there, the room spinning, my mind racing back to the day I met Sarah at a family barbecue in the suburbs. My parents had pushed us together, their conservative values making any other choice seem impossible. I had tried so hard to be the son they wanted, the straight successful man with a fiancé and a future. But deep down I knew the truth. The nights I spent alone wondering why I felt nothing when Sarah kissed me. The way my heart raced when I saw Marcus at the office gym. The guilt had eaten at me for years. When I finally confessed to Sarah 6 months ago, telling her I was gay and couldn't marry her, she had screamed that I had wasted her time, used her as a beard for my career and family image. Now she was suing, claiming I knew all along and lied to her and her family for financial gain from my father's business connections. I grabbed my jacket and left the office, the stairs burning into my back. On the train to Marcus's apartment, I called him. "Marcus, I need you. It's bad." His voice was calm, steady, the one thing that had kept me grounded since we started seeing each other quietly. "Come over, Ethan. We'll figure this out." When I arrived, he pulled me into a hug, his strong arms around me. Not sexual, but full of support. We sat on his couch, the city lights flickering through the window, and I poured out every detail. He listened without interrupting, his hand on my knee. "You didn't lie to hurt her," he said softly. "You were scared. That's not fraud." His words gave me the first breath of air I'd had all day. But deep down I knew the fight was just beginning. My parents would hear about this. The firm partners would question my judgment, and Sarah's lawyer was already painting me as a calculated manipulator. I stared at the court papers, the words blurring. How do you prove you weren't deceiving someone when you spent years deceiving yourself? The next morning I met with my attorney, a sharp woman named Rachel who specialized in these kinds of personal cases. She flipped through the complaint and shook her head. "This is thin, Ethan, but the emotional distress angle can get ugly in front of jury. We need to show you were in genuine denial, not hiding with intent." I nodded, but inside I was terrified. My father had already left 3 voicemails demanding an explanation. My mother's text was worse. "How could you do this to us?" I drove to my childhood home that evening, the familiar oak-lined street feeling like a trap. My dad met me at the door, arms crossed. "Son, tell me this is a misunderstanding." I tried to explain, but the words stuck. He turned away, muttering about the family name and the business deals that might suffer. My sister texted me later, "I'm on your side, but Mom's crying." The weight of it all pressed down, and I wondered if coming out had been the biggest mistake of my life. Marcus waited for me at a quiet coffee shop near the lake. He didn't push, just sat there while I talked about the shame, the fear of losing everything I'd built. "You're not losing me," he said, his eyes steady. That night we walked along the waterfront, the wind off Lake Michigan cold against my face. For the first time I let myself lean on him, not as a secret boyfriend, but as the man who saw me completely. Yet the lawsuit loomed, a ticking clock. Sarah wanted $500,000 and a public apology. My life, my love, my future, all on trial because I had hidden who I was. I went home exhausted, but something shifted. I wasn't going to hide anymore. Not from the court, not from my family, not from myself. Rachel called early the next day with more bad news. Sarah's lawyer had filed additional affidavits from her family claiming I had used their connections to advance my career while knowing I was gay. The discovery process would drag every text, every email, every awkward dinner into the open. I spent the morning in my office staring at the city skyline, wondering how many people at the firm were already gossiping. My boss pulled me aside after lunch. "Ethan, keep your head down. This could affect the Anderson project." The message was clear: stay quiet or lose everything. I met Marcus for lunch at a small Italian place we both loved. He slid a folder across the table. Therapy records from 3 years ago. You started seeing Dr. Patel right after the engagement party. That shows you were struggling, not plotting. I flipped through the pages, my own words staring back at me. I feel trapped. I love Sarah, but I'm not in love. I think I'm gay, but I'm terrified to admit it. Reading it now felt like looking at a stranger. Marcus reached for my hand under the table. This is your proof, Ethan. You didn't deceive her on purpose. You were trying to survive. His touch grounded me, reminded me that love didn't have to be hidden. That evening my mother called. Her voice cracked. Your father won't say it, but he's hurt. We raised you to be honest. I wanted to scream that honesty was exactly what I was trying to live now. Instead I said, Mom, I never meant to hurt anyone. I was scared. She hung up without answering. The silence hurt more than words. I drove to Marcus's place again, needing the safety of his apartment. We cooked pasta together, simple and domestic, and for a few hours the lawsuit felt distant. He told me about his own coming out at 19, the fights with his parents, the years it took to rebuild. It gets better, he said, but you have to fight for it. The next week, discovery began in earnest. Sarah's lawyer demanded my phone records, my journals, even old photos. I sat in Rachel's office, signing releases, each signature feeling like peeling off another layer of skin. Marcus sat beside me, silent support. Afterward, we walked to Grant Park, the fountain spraying in the autumn sun. I'm proud of you, he said quietly. Not many men would face this head-on. His words meant everything. But that night alone, I lay awake replaying every moment with Sarah, the proposal on her parents' porch, the way she'd planned our wedding while I smiled and nodded, dying inside. Had I been cruel without knowing it? The question haunted me. My best friend Tyler called from the suburbs. We'd grown up together, played baseball, double-dated in high school. Dude, Sarah's telling everyone you used her. My wife's asking questions. His tone was careful, but I heard the distance. I need you to back me up, Ty. Tell them I was confused. He hesitated. I will, but you know how this town is. The call ended, and I felt another crack in my world. Marcus noticed my mood when I told him. He didn't offer empty comfort. Instead, he said, some people won't understand. That's their loss. We sat on a balcony, watching the lights of Chicago, his arm around my shoulders. For the first time, I realized the lawsuit wasn't just about money. It was about forcing me to confront every version of myself I try to bury. Rachel scheduled a strategy meeting for Friday. She wanted me to testify about the therapy the moment I finally accepted who I was. The thought made my stomach turn, but Marcus's steady presence reminded me I wasn't alone. The fight was just beginning, yet something inside me had already changed. I wasn't hiding anymore. The deposition room smelled like stale coffee and anxiety. Sarah sat across the table, eyes cold, her lawyer beside her flipping through notes. I answered every question honestly, voice steady even when they asked about the night. I told her the truth. I didn't plan to hurt you, I said. I was trying to be the man everyone expected. She scoffed, but I saw a flicker of something. Maybe pain, maybe doubt. The session lasted 4 hours. When it ended, Marcus was waiting in the hallway, coffee in hand. You did good, he whispered. We walked out into the crisp Chicago air, and for the first time, I felt like I might actually survive this. My sister, Emily, drove up from the suburbs that weekend. We met at a diner near Wrigley Field. Mom's still crying, Dad silent, but I told them you're my brother no matter what. Her support meant the world. She asked about Marcus, and I showed her a photo. She smiled. He looks kind. Bring him to dinner sometime when this is over. The conversation felt normal, like family could still be family. But later that night, my father texted. Lawyer called. This is costing the family reputation. The word stung. Marcus and I spent Sunday at the Art Institute, losing ourselves in paintings and quiet conversation. He pointed to a Hopper piece, lonely figures in bright rooms. That was me before I met you, he said, hiding in plain sight. I squeezed his hand right there in the gallery. No more secrets. On the way home, he asked about my dreams after the lawsuit. I want to design something real, I told him, something that matters, and I want to do it with you. The words felt right, like the future was finally mine to shape. Monday brought more paperwork. Rachel called with good news. The judge had denied Sarah's request for punitive damages. "We're making progress," she said, but the emotional distress claim remained. I spent the afternoon reviewing old emails with Marcus, finding the ones where I'd written to Dr. Patel about feeling trapped. "These help," Marcus said. "They show you were lost, not lying." His belief in me gave me courage I didn't know I had. Tyler finally came through. He sent a statement saying he'd known me since childhood and never saw malice, only confusion. I called to thank him. "You're still my best friend," he said. "Just don't hide from me again." The forgiveness felt like a small victory. That evening, Marcus cooked dinner, steak and roasted vegetables, and we talked about everything except the case. For a few hours, the world narrowed to the two of us, laughter and easy silence. The following week, the press caught wind. A local blog ran a piece. Prominent architects sued by ex-fiancé over sexuality. Comments flooded in, some supportive, many cruel. I read them late at night, Marcus asleep beside me. The hate made my chest tight, but his steady breathing reminded me what mattered. I closed the laptop and turned to him, grateful. The lawsuit had stripped away every layer, but it had also shown me who stood by me. Trial day arrived under gray Chicago skies. The courtroom was smaller than I expected, wood paneling and American flag behind the judge. Sarah took the stand first, voice trembling as she described the years she planned our life while I pulled away. "He made me believe we had a future," she said. Then he threw it away. Her pain was real, and I felt it in my gut. When it was my turn, I told my story without flinching. The pressure from my parents, the fear of disappointing everyone, the slow realization that I loved men. The jury watched, some nodding, some stone-faced. Marcus testified next. He spoke calmly about how we met at work, how he saw me struggling, how I finally chose honesty. "Ethan never lied to hurt Sarah," he said. "He was trying to protect everyone, including himself." His words filled the room with quiet strength. During cross-examination, Sarah's lawyer tried to twist it, but Marcus held firm. Afterward, we stepped outside for air. He kissed my forehead right there on the courthouse steps. "We're almost through this," he whispered. My mother surprised everyone by showing up the next day. She sat in the back row, eyes red. During a break, she pulled me aside. "I don't understand everything, but you're my son." It wasn't full acceptance, but it was a start. My father stayed home, still silent. The trial dragged on with witnesses, colleagues, friends, even Dr. Patel via video. Each testimony peeled back another layer of my hidden life. Tyler took the stand and spoke about our friendship, how I'd always been the guy who helped everyone else while carrying his own burden. If he hid anything, it was from fear, not greed. Sarah's lawyer objected, but the damage was done. During lunch, Marcus and I ate sandwiches on a bench outside. "No matter what happens," he said, "you've already won by being honest." His faith kept me going. The days blurred. Closing arguments loomed. Rachel rehearsed with me late into the night. Marcus waited up every time, coffee ready. The night before closing, I couldn't sleep. I sat on the balcony, staring at the skyline, Marcus beside me. "I used to think love meant fitting in," I told him. "Now I know it means being seen." He smiled and took my hand. The city lights reflected in his eyes, and for the first time, the future felt possible. Closing arguments began on a bright Friday morning. Sarah's lawyer painted me as a calculating opportunist. Rachel countered with facts and heart. Then the moment came. The judge asked if we had any rebuttal evidence. Rachel stood. "Your Honor, we'd like to introduce the complete therapy file from Dr. Patel, previously sealed for privacy." The courtroom stirred. Page after page was read aloud. My raw confessions, the panic attacks, the desperate attempts to fix myself. The jury leaned forward. Sarah's face changed. The anger softened into something like understanding. The judge called a recess. In the hallway, Marcus pulled me close. "They see you now," he said. "The real you." When we returned, the judge announced the verdict would come Monday. The weekend stretched endless. My family gathered at my sister's house, awkward but present. My father finally spoke. "I was wrong to push you so hard." The words cracked something open inside me. Marcus joined us for dinner, and for the first time my mother asked him about his work. Small steps, but real. Monday morning the courtroom was packed. The judge cleared his throat. After reviewing all evidence, including the therapy records that clearly demonstrate genuine internal conflict rather than intentional deception, the court finds in favor of the defendant. Mr. Hayes is not liable for fraud or intentional infliction of emotional distress. The gavel fell. Relief flooded me so fast my knees nearly buckled. Sarah looked at me across the room, nodded once, and left. No apology, but no more hate. Outside on the courthouse steps the sun broke through the clouds. Marcus was waiting. He opened his arms, and I stepped into them, legal folder in my hand, the weight finally gone. Reporters snapped photos, but I didn't care. I had my truth, my family starting to heal, and the man I loved beside me. The weeks after the verdict felt like waking from a long nightmare. I returned to work with a new project, designing a community center for LGBTQ youth. The irony wasn't lost on me. Marcus moved in gradually, his art supplies filling my apartment, his laughter filling the empty spaces. My mother called every Sunday now, asking about both of us. My father sent a short email. Proud of how you handled yourself. Small but enough. Tyler and I grabbed beers, talking like old times. Sarah sent a quiet message. I'm sorry too. Healing wasn't perfect, but it was happening. One crisp evening Marcus and I walked the lakefront, the city glowing behind us. He stopped under a street lamp. I love the man you've become, he said. I pulled him close, the legal papers long filed away. The journey had cost me fear, secrets, and almost my family, but it gave me honesty, courage, and a love that didn't need hiding. I looked at the skyline, the future wide open. True or false? Hiding your true sexuality from those closest to you can ever be considered innocent love rather than deception?